Donald Trump has been mentioned 5,391 times in the Epstein files. That number came up during a House Rules Committee hearing this week. Not from a conspiracy theorist, from a sitting member of Congress reading the record. And here's what nobody is asking. If Trump's name shows up that many times, why isn't he being subpoenaed? And what's in the other 3 million pages the DOJ still won't release? 2 open loops for this video. Loop 1. What did Republicans vote to hide? Loop 2. What do the survivors say about who's being protected? Subscribe now, because the receipts get ugly fast. Let's build the ladder. Rung 1. Trump ran for president in 2024 promising to release the Epstein files. That's public record. Rung 2. Shortly after being sworn in, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, claimed she had a binder with the client list. She said she'd release the files. Rung 3. At some point, very quickly, Trump changed his tune. He started doing everything in his power to prevent the release. Why? Because, according to reporting, the Attorney General told him he was mentioned in the files thousands of times. Now, a Republican congressman responds, thousands of times because he released the files. But here's the problem. He didn't release all the files. He released half. Quick recap so you don't get lost. Trump promised transparency. His AG said she had the goods. Then Trump pivoted to blocking the release. And when he finally did release files, he only gave up half. That's the ladder so far. Now here's where it gets procedural, but stay with me, because this is where the cover-up lives. The Oversight Committee issued a subpoena to Attorney General Bondi more than 5 months ago. The deadline was August 19, 2025. She was supposed to produce all the Epstein files to Congress. A congressman asks Chairman Comer directly, has Bondi fully complied with the subpoena? His answer? We're still reviewing the 3 million documents to see if that's all of the documents or not. Here's the math. The Trump administration's own Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who used to be Trump's personal lawyer, said there are 6 million Epstein files. 6 million. They've released 3 million. That means 3 million are still hidden. And those 3 million that were released? Heavily redacted. So let's keep score. Total files collected. 6 million. Files released. 3 million. Files still hidden. 3 million. And the subpoena to Bondi? She's only turned over 30,000 pages to the committee. Not 3 million. Not 6 million. 30,000. One Democrat on the committee said Bondi is out of compliance with the subpoena and not following the law requiring the release of all 6 million documents. So if you remember one thing from this section, it's this. The law said release everything. Trump's DOJ is hiding half. Let's look at 3 yes or no moments from this hearing. Because when you corner people under oath, the dodges tell you everything. Question 1. A congressman asks Chairman Comer, do you know if top Trump advisor Elon Musk ever went to Epstein's rape island? Comer's answer, I haven't seen any evidence that he had. Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say no. He said he hasn't seen evidence. That's not the same thing. Question 2. Do you know if Trump advisor Steve Bannon ever went to Epstein's rape island? Answer, I don't keep up with Steve Bannon. He dodged again. Question 3. Do you know if Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, ever went to Epstein's rape island? This time, Comer gave a partial answer. He said Lutnick went to the island with his wife and kids and said he'd never go back. But then Comer added, I don't know if it's island, but he went somewhere with Epstein. Let's tally it. 3 questions. 0 clean answers. Musk, haven't seen evidence. Bannon, I don't keep up with him. Lutnick, went somewhere, maybe not the island. That's 3 dodges in under 2 minutes. So the congressman follows up. He asks Comer, are you going to subpoena Howard Lutnick, Steve Bannon, or Elon Musk? Comer's answer, we'll subpoena anyone that the evidence leads us to. Anyone the evidence leads us to. But here's what's wild. The evidence already led them to the Clintons. They're voting to hold Bill and Hillary Clinton in criminal contempt today. But Trump's Commerce Secretary? Trump's top advisor? No subpoenas. Not even a plan to issue one. Let's build a receipts wall. Contradiction 1. Trump's DOJ says they delayed the release to carefully protect the survivors. That's their official position. But then survivors started speaking out. Multiple survivors said their personal information was revealed in the release. So they delayed the release to protect victims, and then failed to protect victims. One congressman put it this way: they victimized again the survivors, and they're protecting the people who abused them. Contradiction 2. Republicans say this investigation is bipartisan. Chairman Comer even said, a majority of the Democrats on the committee voted for this. But when pressed on whether he'd subpoena Trump allies, he refused. So it's bipartisan when it comes to Democrats, not when it comes to Republicans. Contradiction 3. A Democrat accuses Chairman Comer of moving the goalposts. He says the Clintons addressed every objection Comer laid out: transcription, staff limits, scope of questioning. And then Comer added new objections. Listen to this exchange. So the Clintons agreed to a transcribed interview. They agreed to the terms in the chairman's letter. And Republicans are still voting to hold them in contempt. Meanwhile, Trump's name shows up 5,391 times in the files, and he's not being subpoenaed at all. Let's reset. The receipts wall shows 3 contradictions. 1. DOJ said they protect survivors, then exposed them. 2. Republicans say it's bipartisan, but only Democrats get subpoenaed. 3. Clintons meet every demand, still held in contempt. Trump mentioned thousands of times, not subpoenaed. Here's what we know for sure. 6 million files exist. Only 3 million were released. The ones that were released? Heavily redacted. And the names that really weren't released, according to testimony, are the perpetrators. The people who abused these women. So survivors got exposed. Abusers got protected. And the only people facing contempt charges are the Clintons, who actually agreed to testify. Let me ask you this. Is that incompetence? Or is that intent? Because if you're the Trump administration and your name shows up 5,391 times in files about a convicted sex trafficker, and you're the one controlling which files get released, what would you do? Would you release everything? Or would you release just enough to look compliant while burying the rest? Chairman Comer said he subpoenaed Bill Barr, Trump's former attorney general, and Alex Acosta, who gave Epstein that sweetheart plea deal while serving in the Trump administration. And that's true. But when asked if he'd subpoena Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, or Howard Lutnick, all Trump allies mentioned in connection to Epstein, he wouldn't commit. So let's look at the subpoena list. Bill Barr, subpoenaed. Alex Acosta, subpoenaed. Bill and Hillary Clinton, subpoenaed and held in contempt. Elon Musk, not subpoenaed. Steve Bannon, not subpoenaed. Howard Lutnick, who admitted going somewhere with Epstein, not subpoenaed. Donald Trump, mentioned 5,391 times, not subpoenaed. And remember, Bondi's subpoena required her to turn over all the files to Congress. She's given them 30,000 pages, out of 6 million. That's 0.5%. One congressman said Bondi is out of compliance. Another asked the chairwoman, should we hold Bondi in contempt? The chairman's response? She is turning over documents. Every document they're legally required to turn over. But a Democrat pushed back. He said the law doesn't allow the DOJ to subjectively determine that 3 million files were over-collected and therefore don't need to be released. The law says release all of them. And here's the kicker. When a congressman pointed out that several Republican members of the Oversight Committee refused to comply with subpoenas from the January 6th committee, Chairman Comer said those cases should have gone to the Ethics Committee because Congress isn't supposed to subpoena its own members. So Republicans who defied subpoenas? That's an ethics issue. Clintons who agreed to testify? Criminal contempt. Trump mentioned 5,391 times? Not even a question about whether he should be subpoenaed. Let's land the plane. Total Epstein files, 6 million. Publicly released, 3 million heavily redacted. Given to Congress, 30,000. Trump mentions, 5,391. Trump subpoenas, 0. That's the record. And here's what gets me. The survivors, the actual victims, have said the DOJ revealed their personal information while protecting the men who abused them. That came up multiple times in this hearing, not as speculation, as testimony. So I'll ask you, is this a cover-up, or is this just how power protects itself? Drop your answer in the comments, because the pattern is clear. Release just enough to look transparent. Bury the rest. Subpoena your enemies. Protect your allies. And when survivors speak up, ignore them. Next video, we're going to look at the one document Trump's DOJ redacted the most and what survivors say is inside it. If you want the deep dive, hit subscribe. Because this story isn't over. 3 million files are still hidden, and somebody knows what's in them. That's the record. These are the receipts. See you next time.